Hey everybody. Alright, today I'm going to be tearing down this engine, getting ready for World Cup. I think we got about 20 days for World Cup. This is out of Heaven's Reject, owned by Brian Cummins. GT500 deal. Aluminum block, obviously aluminum heads. It's probably, I believe Brian says it has about 50 to 70 eighth mile hits and about 40 quarter mile hits. I originally put it together in October. I finished it in October of 21. Go to ModNats. He made some shakedowns. He had some other issues at ModNats. Then he went to Texas 2K. Made a couple good licks there. But in eliminations, the engine locked up. The crank sprocket broke. And that was my fault. Didn't have a chamfer large enough for the crankshaft. So lesson learned there. Pulled it back out. We changed the rods because the rods got kind of beat up, but this has the original set of pistons in it, the original crank, the original block, and this block was not new when I started with it, so it had new sleeves input in from PKM. But yeah, we definitely have a noise in the engine. It had a thrust bearing issue. It does have a roller thrust, but the converter spacing was way off when they switched to converter, so it ate the thrust bearing pretty good. Not awful. We did roll some new thrust washers in and bearings on number 5 just because we didn't have much time in the middle of FL2K testing. So that was number 5 main on the lower. So it doesn't look awful, but it does have some material in there. So World Cup's coming up. ModNats23 is coming up, so we're gonna get this thing torn apart, and I just wanted to kind of film this for y'all. This car makes serious power. I would estimate somewhere in the 2,000 range on about 38-40 pounds. I don't think it's been much more than 40 pounds of boost. It went 708 at 206 at FL2K22 after the rebuild, and it went 70 at like 202 or 203 at Texas 2K this year. So, and it's been down into the 40s and eighth mile trim, and I mean plenty of passes in the 460 range and quarter mile trim. So the car still weighs 3,200 pounds or so. It's not light, but we're gonna get it apart, go through everything, and see how it wore. The heads have at least, the heads probably have at least that many passes because I haven't touched the heads since we put the rods in. So probably close to 100 passes on the heads as well. So, all right, here we go. Alright everybody, just took a break for lunch. Now I'm back. We got all the covers off. Pretty much how we had it in the car the other day. When I dropped the pan, there was a lot more metallic stuff, so something's hiding somewhere. You can see it puking out of here too. Which that's just assembly grease. But we're gonna go ahead, pull the timing chains off. I'll pull the camshafts out, and then I'm gonna loosen the loosen the heads, pull them off. There's still a little bit of water in the head, but no big deal. I'm just gonna pull them off straight and just let the water drain. No big deal. It's dry deck, so it's not like it's gonna go everywhere. But just want to kind of give y'all an update since the time lapse, and I'm gonna go ahead and get digging into this. Alright, so I got the cams and the timing chains and everything off. Next step to do is to loosen the cylinder heads so I can get them off. I'm just going to loosen the bolts with this big ratchet, and then we will use a little impact to just zing all the nuts off. These are the big boy head studs, the top fuel ones. They are a 9/16 coarse thread at the bottom. They're not quite as long as a 12mm Coyote, but they're fairly long. And they're tapered to a 1/2 inch fine thread at the top. You torque them up to 125. And typically, you don't have any problems there. As far as head gasket retention, whether you have a copper ring and an MLS, whether you have a copper ring and an MLS gasket, or you have a copper gasket with a steel hoop and a receiver, which is what this engine has. Use a little magnet to pull the washers up so they're not going all over the place. It's just quite a pain in the butt sometimes. Alright, got all my washers off, so now it's time to pull the cylinder heads. And there goes all the water I knew was in the head.
Oh man.
Stand her up like this. Biggie. Alright, let's see how the chambers look. Wow, everything looks pretty good. Pretty good. So, yeah. Let's take a look here. From the top, pistons look pretty good. Side. I'm actually going to walk past you here. Outside. Hey, that works better. Alright, let's have a look at this girl here. And everything looks pretty damn good. Pretty damn good. get her apart a little bit more and see. Let's go take a look at the pistons over here. Look at the cylinder wall. Got a couple little scars, nothing bad. That's probably from the the wrist pin button just barely hazing it there. But there's still good crosshatch. Yeah, all the tops of the pistons look pretty good. So I'm gonna leave the head gasket. It's kind of like stuck on here right now. I'm just gonna leave it there. This is the RCC copper from Flat Out. You can see here they got this rubber coating, and that's what's stuck to the head. So it's kind of a pain in the butt to get off, but it seals pretty good, I think. So one thing I'll show y'all here is, if you can look and you just kind of draw like an inscribed square around the cylinder head bolts, the oil port hangs outside of that, so you will get just a slight bit of bow. So if you're ever chasing an oil pressure problem and you have a setup like this, more than likely it's leaking internally right here. So just a little tech tip. I know this is kind of a rare setup, but more and more guys are wanting to go faster, so you're going to see this setup a lot more often. So I guess without further ado, we will flip over to the bottom. And here's kind of what we saw the other day. So like, rod's got good play. All the piston skirts from the bottom, I mean, look pretty good. So we're just gonna have to find out where exactly our bottom end noise was coming from, and then we'll go from there. It might not have even been a bottom end noise. It could have been it really sounded like it was from the top end. So anyways, gonna get the crank socket on here and we'll start pulling rods and pistons. Alright, so I went ahead and took the head studs out and took the head gaskets off so we can just pull the rods and pistons easier. So I'm going to go ahead and flip this guy over. And we'll get started here. We're going to start from the very front, 1 and 5. You can tell, I mean, it's not hard to turn over. So go ahead and loosen up number 1. Well, not super happy, but not awful, considering the amount of trash that we saw at the bottom of the oil pan. However, when the bearing comes off that easy, typically it's gotten smushed a little bit, so not too bad, just some embedment on the top layer, and it got pissed off just a tad bit in the middle. Everything looks good here. Everything looks fairly good. About the same. A little embedment. Feels pretty good. Bearing's in the right spot. Just got a little bit of trash in it. This is one of the pistons that got dinged before from the failure at TX2K22. Same thing there. Just a little bit of trash on the top layer. Journals of the crank look great. Let's see, that was number 2. See how number 6 looks here. Number 6 had a bigger piece of trash go through it. Got down to the copper just a little bit, but it's still not. I mean, you can barely feel that with your nail, so a couple foul. Nothing awful. Skirts look pretty good. Don't mind that. It has buttons, so that just means everything's floating nicely. Unless it's not. But it is. There's another little ding that had happened. So these pistons, they had already been for a little bit of a ride, but they look fantastic. I mean, we have great ring rotation. Everything's good. Alright, here comes number 6. It's a little bit of, I mean, I believe that's from just a little bit of trash. Everything looks pretty good though. No signs of detonation. Everything here is good, beefy. You can tell though. Really wasn't happy here. Got a little bit of transfer. Nothing awful. This is a Coyote standard bore, so 3630 right now. So I'll measure the cylinders and see how it is. I have the same pistons, brand new ones, and they're actually conveniently still at line to line, at least I think they are, so should be able to holler up there and have them spray them a couple thou thicker if we have the option to open up the cylinder wash just a few thou to clean them up. Same thing here. So it was getting a little bit hammered, it looks like, and a little bit of trash too. If not, we're going to go up to a 3650 bore. So the reason I like to start at 3630 is it's large enough where you're going to gain something over the standard 5.4 liter 3552 bore as far as power, but you're not so big that you've ran out of real estate after your first build. So not awful. Just trash. A little worse in the middle. It may have started to get a little bit of that around, but again, these rods have over 100 passes on them at 2,000 horsepower, I would say. Can't really ask for much. I'm very happy with the way the skirts look on the pistons, and I mean, yeah, they don't look great as far as like cosmetic, and yeah, they got some little scratches. That's to be expected. Crank's rotating nice, but a lot of times you'll see where they start to crack around the pin board, or the skirt will start to collapse, and that's just not the case here. The ring lands might start to tighten up. This is all fantastic. So, Frankie's coming through. Get some more power. Alright, let's get these last two loosened up here. That guy was a little bit loose. I suspect that may be part of our noise issue. You guys can see it was much easier to get the first one off than it was the second rod. So I suspect we're going to find something here. Mark here on this rod. Yep, we started to spin that bearing. Yep, took the dowel right out of there. Not happy. Not happy. Oh, at least we found the source of our noise. I'm hoping the crank doesn't look awful. But if it does, guess what? Got a brand new one on the shelf. Not too happy. Not too happy. You can tell. So what will happen is when you're getting rod bearing material coming off, it's coming off with the windage, right? As the oil that's feeding the rod bearing is being exhausted, it's going to have this kind of trash in it, and it will throw it up onto the cylinder wall, and then the piston changes direction, and you can get it stuck up in there. So that's what that's from. This is just shit in the oil getting stuck against the cylinder wall. The coating really protected it pretty well. And for those of you that are unfamiliar with the line-to-line coating, it tightens everything up. So the piston's going to be a lot straighter during braking. So if you have a racing engine where you might be wanting anywhere from, say, 5 to 8 thousandths of clearance sometimes. Now, I would never run 8 on an engine like this, but, you know, big block, bigger bore stuff. You can really tighten it up. So I assembled this engine with 2 thousandths of piston to wall clearance. Now it's buffed off quite a bit of that over time, but I will say that that is one thing that really helps ring seal, and obviously ring seals power. So just something to look into. I've loosened that already, so. Guy's actually quite okay. He's just got a little of, you know, top layer embedment. This guy wasn't super duper happy either, but he did not spin. The way I can't really ask for more out of these rods. Definitely the most powerful engine I've ever built with a 3/8 rod bolt, but made a believer out of me, that's for sure. This doesn't look awful. It really doesn't look awful. I think we may have caught it in time. I will mic it. And I have some tricks up my sleeve for pulling trash off the journal. So, in worst cases, we have to have it turn 10, so no big deal. And I think we can get away with this here. We'll just see. You can feel it, but it's just rough. It's nothing bad. So, that's going to be my next step. And yeah, we will go from there. Alright, so next thing I'm going to do is loosen up the main caps, then we'll pull them. I took the rear main seal plate off already off camera just because it's time consuming while you're on the engine stand. But the one thing that's different about the GT500 aluminum blocks compared to, say, the 4.6 aluminum blocks is that the main studs, or the main bolts from the factory, they're 10 millimeters on both the inner and the outer, versus a 4.6 aluminum, be it a Texid WAP or an EMAC block, are 10 millimeter and 8 millimeter. This uses the same side bolts as the very, very late model Texid that doesn't come with jack screws, or the WAP and the EMAC, which is 9 millimeter thread. Had to take a quick floor pop break. I think it's about time Circle K sponsors me. Anyway, we're gonna pull the mains off here real quick. This is the easiest way. Vibrate it while you're pulling it. You service the engine enough, you pry here, it's gonna get boogered up over time. Alright, it looks weird because this is the front of the roller thrust is still stuck on here, and it's just from oil. So we don't look super happy because the crank got pressed forward a little bit. We had quite a bit of trash come through here, but narrow dose. Not really an awesome spot to grab this one, unfortunately. Same deal, just trashy. Like, not a lot of bearing material is moved, but it's trashy. I'd say she was moving a little bit. You can see the bottom of the cap here. You can see on the block it's just transferred a little bit here. I talked to Brian earlier, and just want to confirm he was shifting this thing at 9,200, and he said a couple of the fast passes they turned it 95. So it doesn't surprise me we have a little cap to saddle transfer. I don't know if I'm in a good spot here. I don't think I'm gonna find it. Same deal. Not awful, not awesome. Oh wow. This one looks like almost brand new. It's because we just put it in. But you can still see all this here. That's from trash being in the oil. So as soon as we started it back up, that's what happened. Alright, I guess the next thing we do is get this bad boy out. Billet. Okay. It's not awful. Most of this is just kind of trashy. I really can't remember how it looked before. We'll check the line bore though and make sure all that's good too. So there's a little dark here on the saddle. Which makes me think the cap was vibrating just a little bit. You can also see you see down here, you can see where all this has been clearanced, right? You can see where all this has been clearanced, and that's from the larger GRP rods. So the rods that we're running now, they actually fit down the standard bore, 3552 bore. So the next block that we're getting ready to do, hopefully we can reuse this crank. I'll mic it here in a little bit. I already mic'd it roughly right now. It's like a quarter of a thou under, so 2.5 tenths under standard. So I'm quite sure I can polish that set of journals there and just take it down a thou, and we'll run that, hoping to run that, and then we have a brand new billet crank just like this one that we're going to build another block for. So this we should be back together in, honestly, just a few days. We only have, I think, 20 days to World Cup, and we got to go make some test laps. So anyways, that's it for the teardown. I will go through the heads here in a little bit, and I'll film that as well, but that's it on the short block for now. Later this evening I will come back and check the bores and see what we're going to do with that. Hoping we can just throw some plates on there and touch hone it and be good to go. If not, we'll go up to the next size, 3650. We got pistons on the shelf, so no big deal. Alright, see ya.